How was Florida?
All right,
Evidently,
thanks.
you didn't bring any warm air back with you either.
No, and I didn't miss any of the full freeways, so.
All right, we will call the meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. All right. We'll start with the approval of minutes from the January 18th meeting. I think those have been presented. Give George a minute to get his iPad open.
I'll move to approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion? There was one issue. Okay. No, never mind.
You good?
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, thank you. Bear with us on our new sound system. Is this a little too loud?
I can hear you.
Seem okay? All right, thanks. I'd like to welcome all of our visitors, and let's just dive into new business. We'll start with some bid openings. We do have, Lynn, would you tell us, I think we have two bid openings today. The first is the Canal Street sewer bid opening, and there's a second bid opening that was scheduled for today that didn't get on the agenda.
Yeah, I believe it's for County Road 300 North project. Is that correct, Jeremy?
Okay. All right, so the first we'll open is, are those Canal Street bids?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is for the Canal Street sewer project.
That's for 300 North.
Okay.
First, the top two are for, yeah, there you go.
So we have a bid from G&G Hauling and Excavating for the Canal Street Sewer Project. Their total bid cost is $184,395.
184395, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And the second is from Seelig
Selge.
Selge, I'm sorry. Selge, and their contract amount is $206,618.50.
Okay. So those two bids. Brian, do you want to take those under advisement? Okay. So those have been, there's two bids. I think Brian has recommended that you take those under advisement, and they'll be, do you want to award them at the next meeting? Okay, all right. Yes, please.
So moved.
All right,
Second.
all right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, thank you. And there are two bids for the 300 North project.
So the first one is from Reith Riley. And their total base bid is $2,315,601.95. Second bid is from Fenn and Brown. total base bid is $1,880,359.30.
All right. Jeremy, would you come to the podium and just tell us about the scope of work for that project, 300 North?
Yeah, so 300 North is actually the, it works this time. I don't have to stand right up on top of it. 300 North is the second phase, this is the second phase of the 300 North project. The first phase from Sylvia's Crossing to the bridge was completed. The county completed the bridge last year, and now we're completing from the far side of the bridge all the way back to State Road 15 with a roundabout at Sheldon and 300 North. With the side path, will connect all the way to Sheldon Street. The side path will not go on past 15, but it will connect to Sheldon Street with the sidewalks that run along Sheldon Street on both sides heading down to Walmart and to the residential areas and to the apartment complexes, so that we'll have a continuous side path that connects to the school and to the technology park.
Could you also address one question? I know that there was some, I've heard some comments on why the side path was put on the south side of the road as opposed to the north side of the road, and I know there's very good reason for that.
Yeah, so the reason it was on the south side of the road was if you look at the north side of the road, the grade and the environmental issues with the creek once you get down to the bridge. We were able to work with the county to extend the side path on the bridge on the south side. If you look at an aerial photograph, you'll notice on the north side, there wasn't the room that was necessary to do that, given the water features and the grading that was on that north side.
Okay, all right. All right, I know I got a little off kilter, but because we're just really considering the bids right now, but thank you for the explanation of that project.
And we're gonna take these bids under advisement. Redevelopment Commission meets on Monday. They'll give them a chance to look at the bids, and then we would award it at the next Board of Works meeting.
All right, questions?
No.
All right, is there a motion to take the bids under advisement?
So moved.
Second.
All right, further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, thank you. Item number 2, the young man from Lakes and Streams could not make it today and asked that we reconsider this at a future meeting. So I would ask that we suspend this or take this from the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All right, further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right,
So you motion to suspend that? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe, Stacy, wasn't it the next meeting he said he could?
Yes.
Okay,
I'm sorry, who made the motion then to approve that? Was it you, George?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
all right. New hire change in payroll report. Jennifer?
Yes, we just have some changes going. Got a part-time firefighter. Got some replacements due to retirements at wastewater.
Questions?
No.
Move to accept all as presented.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed? All right, and then travel requests. Looks like DARE officer training for Officer Navarro this summer. Any comments, Scott?
No, just to hit base on this again, Roy Navarro was selected to be a trainer, to train the trainers, I guess, to train new DARE officers. So this was part of that training this summer, so it'll be during non-school schedule. And then the International Training Conference, that's usually where they purchase all their products and receive up-to-date training with DARE and SRO curriculum.
Questions?
No. Move to approve.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Item number 5 is from the mayor's office, and Stacy Young will address the agreement with Metronet to add some equipment.
So we are asking for your approval of this agreement with Metronet. This would be to add 5 point-to-point circuits with Metronet for our second phase of our city server. So the first phase is starting to come to a close. We're still working on tying that up. but we want to get the ball rolling with Metronet before we get to that second server phase, so that we're ready to go after they get their work done. The point-to-point circuits are basically direct lines of communication between City Hall and those departments, so that is used to send that server data back and forth. These are additional costs to the departments. They did budget for these. I will say though, you'll see the note on there, we can cancel their individual internet connections once we have them talking to City Hall. We boosted City Hall's internet speed during the first phase with Metronet, and they will be receiving their internet from City Hall. So I think Airport is the only one who's paying $150 a month for their internet right now. The other locations are actually paying $250 for their internet, so it will end up being nearly a wash at the end of the day after that transition period. So there will be a short time where they're paying both until we get them talking, and then once we can cancel that internet connection, they're actually gonna be about where they were to begin with. And they'll have this additional connection to City Hall that will support them tying into the server later this year.
Questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. I may as well have you do the agreement with the Chicago Doghouse for our employee picnic this summer.
Yes, just asking for your approval of an agreement, catering agreement with the Chicago Doghouse again to cater our city employee picnic that we hold during the summer for all of our staff at Lucerne Park. We're doing the same amounts. There's a contingency written in there for extra hot dogs should we need it, but so far we've been able to stay within this original contract amount each year.
All right, questions?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And Stacy, I'd like to thank you for your help on that. That's a great, for our employees to have that afternoon to at least a little extended lunchtime to have a little camaraderie and nice down at the park. So this is what, our fourth year?
I think so. I think
Okay,
so,
so
yeah.
thank you again. And finally, we will exercise a confidentiality agreement with Bit Computers per your approval today. Would you explain that?
Sure. BIT Computers, they are the ones who are designing and implementing our server system right now. And so they will be involved with the troubleshooting of that, with maintaining some of that, just as our on-call provider as we work through things with them. We just felt it was good to have a confidentiality agreement in place with them now that they are going to have their hands in a lot of that data and server equipment that's going to support the whole city. Just kind of a best practices thing at this point. We've had no concerns with them up to this point, or we probably would not be working with them. But just moving forward with the scope of this server project, we felt it would be a good idea to have this in place with them.
That is a good idea. I'll move to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Again, I appreciate all the work Stacy and all the department heads have done as we're really moving into this fibrous network server and all the importance that's going to have to each department. We are certainly learning as we go along, and I think this is going to be a great addition with regards to information systems for the city. We're just getting to the point where the technology is allowing us to share data much easier, much more freely as far as file size and that type of thing. And we have to have the equipment to support that. And there's a lot that goes along with that, as you're finding, and even a confidentiality agreement with our provider is but one piece of that. So, all right. Parks, how are you this morning?
Good, thank you.
Good. So we can start with item number 8. This is permission to accept a grant.
Yes, we received notification that we will be receiving the general grant from the Kosciuszko County Community Foundation for $5,000, which goes toward the Central Park Concert Series. And that allows me to pay for about half of those concerts.
Wonderful. Any questions?
Move to accept.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. Item 9, Charlie Ray Fly Fishing.
Yep, this is for our annual fly fishing workshops that we do. We do 2 a year, one in May and one in August. He does a beginner, and then he also does an intermediate to advanced class. separately, and this is for both workshops, both skill levels, of a total of up to $210.
Does he provide equipment or,
He does, he
Oh,
provides
nice.
everything. All
Oh,
they have
wow.
to do is show up.
great? Questions?
No, move to approve.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. Larry, I think you've got the contract with Wayne Township.
Absolutely. This is our yearly contract with Wayne Township. It's for $75,000 paid in 2 installments. This is the same amount as last year. The city provides or operates the parks and summer recreation programs and provides that to the Wayne Township people. So that's what the contract's about.
I noticed, and I don't think I've ever asked about the item number 4, it says $26,000 of the contract is being made available as direct rent or lease payment offset for those organizations renting or leasing space in Pete Thorne Building. Can you elaborate on that a
We had
little?
met with the Wayne Township people approximately 4 years ago, and they wanted to see some of that money put towards the Pete Thorne Center to allow some of the rent offset out there. We charge them $1,053 a month for rent, but this allows them this offsets some of the utilities and things to make that work out there and provide a place for the seniors. So,
Perfect.
Yep.
All right, any questions?
I move to accept.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, Larry, I think we can take the next 3 together. You can talk individually about each one, but we'll vote on all 3 agreements with the lake associations from Pike, Winona, and Center.
Yes, these are our yearly agreements with the Pike Lake, Wino Lake, and Center Lake associations for prevention, conservation, and maintenance. Most of the funds that we provide are used for weed control of the lakes. I know the Wino Lake is looking at using some of the funds for the dredging project that would affect Kiwanis Park as well. So, we have a lot of beachfront on both of our lakes at Pike and Center, and I really feel this is a steal for the amount we're paying to get that done, because the spraying of the lakes is costly. Yeah. So,
Questions?
No, I'll move we approve the agreements with the lake associations for Pike, Winona, and Center.
All in the same amounts, correct?
All the same.
Yep, 2,500.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right,
all right,
thanks,
thank you.
Larry.
Mhm.
Jeremy, you want to discuss the agreement with DLZ for the US 30 preliminary drawings?
Yes, I'm asking that you approve a contract with DLZ in a not-to-exceed amount of $5,000, so it wouldn't exceed the amount. Whether or not it goes up to the $5,000 would depend on the amount of material we get in terms of the US 30 graphic presentation. And what I mean by that is, as we start to prepare for some public meetings this year, what we had wanted was some large maps and some movable pieces so that we can have the public kind of see what the impact would be if we were looking at keeping US 30 where it's at and turning it into a freeway or relocating it. These maps would allow them to maybe move around some pieces on it to understand what impact the decisions that we would make on determining where US 30 may be or how it ends up design-wise. We don't have the capability or the equipment to make the graphics. DLZ does, so I'd like to enter into a contract with them so that we can have those graphics for those public meetings.
And again, this is all in the context of this is one of 3 options that the city is looking at, the through the city on the existing roadway option. The county will be looking at options both north and south around the community. So this presentation, these graphics will be just addressing the city portion of the existing roadway if that were the option that NDOT chose. And again, we're not making any suppositions. We just need to have all those options available when we meet with the public, probably sometime this spring, to start that discussion.
Yeah, as part of the federal environmental guidelines, they would have to do an environmental study with anything that would happen to US 30 in the future. And part of that study would look at a north, a south, an existing route, and then no improvement whatsoever. So there'll actually be 4 options when and if an environmental are done on the US 30 corridor. And those 4 options would be a part of that environmental that they would review. We, as a community, City of Warsaw, would be looking at what the impact to us as a city is if it were to stay in place. The county would be exploring the north and south. So the public hearing portion will probably work together, so there'll be all the options, but what we really need for the community to kind of have that vision is to really know what the impact is. And these materials will allow them to visually see the impact rather than us trying to explain what a potential impact might be.
And as Jeremy said, there's options on this. There's nothing fixed. The idea is that we can move some of these overlays around to see how it might impact a certain intersection versus another. So we're just trying to gather public input, and this will be a great tool to be able to do that.
Yeah, it'll really start to allow them to visually see what the impact would be if they think, oh, this should be an interchange or should be an overpass. The idea and my intent is they would be able to throw something on a piece of paper and that may change their mind. They may say, oh, that's not going to work. So that's kind of the idea of the graphic material that we'd like to have for these public meetings.
Right.
Jeremy, related to your conversation, I saw the map in the mayor's discussion here on page 5. I really didn't understand. Is it going to be, when you say graphic design, you're talking what can be put up here on the screen and then paper overlays, or is it like a model? What are they gonna, is it like model where I can grab them? I've seen stuff where you can.
Yeah, my intent is that you would have actually two maps. One would just be kind of a general aerial photography map.
Length of the table here,
Yeah,
like
big,
we've done
big
bef-
enough that
okay.
you can start to visualize and see, you can actually understand what's there, and not small enough so you're like, what is that? So hopefully it'll be large enough to, and then there will be actual pieces, and the pieces would represent what an average interchange would look like.
Okay.
And then you can put that piece of paper on the map to see what the impact would be. And there might be some different types of interchanges, and there might be some overpasses, some underpass. The reality is, when you're looking at these options, they take up space, they take up land.
Right.
So to really be able to understand what that impact is, we got to be able to visually put it on a piece of paper and say, you know, this is what an interchange looks like. We can change it a little bit, but for the most part, your interchange is going to be let's say 1,200 feet wide. That 1,200 feet has to go somewhere, and that's going to impact what's there now and what's be there in the future. So being able to visually show that impact to the community is what I'm hoping to be able to accomplish, because that'll help them make decisions of what they feel is important for us.
Very helpful, and I was just wondering, modeling and that kind of stuff, paper. Okay, thank you very much. The map that on page 5 was actually helpful.
We've had a lot of discussion about this and felt like having something that allows us to slide and just, again, show the overlay. This map means nothing that's in here now, other than it's an example
Right.
of where things can go, and those pieces can be moved around. And that's really the gist here, is that we've got some flexibility with this tool. We'll have a starting point. We'll do that, and the county will show what they've looked at on both the north and south, and we'll just, the discussion will be open at that point. But again, this gives us, I mean, we have to be very realistic if something like this would come through the community.
Yeah, the map that is attached was more or less an idea to allow them to know what type of pieces they need to develop, not so much location-wise.
Yeah.
That'll come through the public input process, and that's our hope, is that the public would be able to start to develop their ideas on what they think is important, and where cars are coming and going, and how we interact with US 30 in the future. And that's the intent of all this, is to create those pieces to allow them to be interactive with what the future might look like for US 30.
Questions?
I move to accept.
Second?
All right, further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, thank you. I might add that the US 30 Coalition is very active in this, obviously in this process, system-wide. The city and the county have been both working together diligently with our stakeholders and then our public meetings, and those will continue as we, again, get these types of materials that we can get out. The US 30 Coalition will be meeting next week in Indianapolis with INDOT officials and some legislators to clarify a little bit the concerns that we've got and the needs that our community has. I'll be traveling down to Indy on Wednesday to meet with a group of legislators and NDOT officials. And then the following Wednesday, we will be meeting again with more legislators. The US 30 Coalition will have a luncheon with legislators system-wide to discuss the project in total. So there's a lot going on, again, to try and get to the point where hopefully at some point there will be funds released that we can do an environmental impact study. The environmental impact study, we will give direction to which of these options in each community will work. There has to be, again, an environmental compatibility to do these things. You know, we're just looking at maps, how it's going to impact our community, but NDOT will, the first part of the process is to free up potentially some funds to do that environmental impact study, to look at these options, and NDOT will make the final determination which of these options works best. I'm sure costs is the most cost-effective and does not impact the environment in a negative way. So I think if you travel 31 up to South Bend, there's an area south of 6, I think, and you'll see the sign that says Peat area. And I'm sure that was a very environmentally sensitive area that they had to construct over and not disrupt the environment. So I'm sure had they had another way to go, they might have chosen to do that. But those are the things that they look at. That's just an example of how an environmental impact study is really going to make the final decision on this project, along with what the community comes up with. So it's a long process, but I'm, again, thankful for the work of our planners, the county planners, county commissioners, US 30 Coalition, and we just keep moving with it. It's a project that needs to move forward. Got one more item, Scott. You've got an update on the conflict of interest statement.
Yeah, so.
Wrong Scott. Wrong Scott.
On February 17th, 2017, this board approved a memorandum of understanding for the purchase of property that was to become Rotary Park. As I know all of you are aware, George Clemens was one-half owner of that property. On advice of council, he abstained from the discussion and abstained from the vote. I believe he should also file a conflict of interest disclosure statement to the State Board of Accounts. He's prepared one and is submitting them along with a letter from me and a letter from Mr. Valentine. We just ask that this board approve us submitting that conflict of interest to the State Board of Accounts at this time.
So moved.
I'll second that. And it would be an update from an earlier conflict of interest statement with more specific information on it. So I'll second that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, thank you.
Mayor, point of order also, there was discussion, I apologize, did we vote on the study?
Yes.
Yes,
We did get
yeah.
that, I'm sorry, I just wanted to check. Thank you, sir.
Yep. All right. Scott, did you have something else?
Yes.
Okay.
I wanted to present to the board the 2018 Police Department Traffic Report, which is per ordinance and annually to be provided to the Board of Works. And I'll provide it to the Traffic Commission next week, and then I'll also provide a copy to each of the council members as well. But I wanted to give the official copy to the clerk.
Should that just go into reports, you think? Joe?
Yes.
Thank you, Chief. Let's see.
All right. Any special claims, Lynn?
No, I do not have any special claims.
All right. Claims docket. It's been presented, the regular, the monthly, and then the pension are all on there. I did look through it. I didn't have any questions.
I have a question that I got answered, so did you see anything?
No, I did not.
I'll move we approve the claims docket.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Any other items carried forward? Stacy,
There was a walk-in.
podium.
Well, I'm just talking to you.
Oh, okay.
I don't have something, but there was a walk-in for the OrthoWorks lease
Oh,
that should be showing up.
correct. Lynn, you've got that?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, there is a walk-in. We have a lease that we need to approve with OrthoWorks upstairs. This will be their first month that we are able to collect rent from them, with the building being paid off now. While the building was under the rules of the bond and being paid off by the bond, we were not allowed to lease the space upstairs. OrthoWorks had previously entered an agreement with the city to do all the leasehold improvements up there, which we were able to do in exchange for their occupancy, to the point where we're at now, where now we're able to collect that rent. So, do you want to pass those down?
Oh, I only had one. I didn't know it wasn't on.
Well,
board
we'll
pack.
take a look at them.
Okay. I thought it was on board pack, sorry.
Did Whitney get it put on?
Yeah, it's on there. So is the comprehensive financial plan.
Okay, I must not have updated mine.
Here, you can borrow mine.
Okay. Actually, I probably can.
I'm assuming Scott did this lease.
I did.
You did.
Yeah. It should. Okay, I've got them. I just found them. Thank you. Sorry. Those were just put on this morning. They're both walk-ins. I did not have that on my agenda here because I didn't update it from this morning. I updated it yesterday. So let's go back to, it would be item number 2 that'll show up. George, you probably don't have it. You'll have to, you guys can look at that. Again, this is the OrthoWorks lease agreement. We will be leasing them. The rent will be a fair market rent of $4,500 per month, starting February this month. Again, this is the first month we've been able to collect that. Any comments on that, Scott?
Well, it's a one-year lease, $4,500 a month, but it doesn't automatically renew, so this board will have to see where we're at a year from now and approve a new lease with them each year going forward if they remain as tenants, but, so it's a one-year lease that doesn't automatically renew.
I'll give you a minute to look through that because I know you haven't had a chance to see it. I've seen it.
I glanced through it.
The layman in me was section 3, and then again, I do appreciate the fact that our legal department has created it, so I am comfortable with it. And they've been obviously a very good neighbor upstairs.
Right.
Quite a
I'm
bit of
comfortable.
leasehold improvements, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's what that
Yeah,
was. Yeah.
one before, so.
Mhm. I'll wait on you. Are you
No,
comfortable?
I'm fine.
Thanks, Scott, for putting this together. Mayor, you also good?
Yes,
No
yes.
questions? Okay, I'll move to accept the one-year lease.
I'll second that.
All right, further questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right,
May I have that lease back, please? Thank you. And then there's the UMBA, Comprehensive Financial Plan Agreement.
and we are working with UMBAW to create a comprehensive financial plan, as well as some other items that will help us in our budgeting. We're going to establish rates that, is this part of the,
SRF compliance.
right? But establishing those our reserve rates, isn't there a reserve policy? Is that part of this as well?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So the reserve policy that we'll ask the council to adopt and approve, again, will be a part of this. This comprehensive financial plan will be available in time for our budgeting, which is the whole purpose. It helps us look beyond a single year of budgeting, looks at the sustainability of our budget, typically over a 5-year period. And that's what this will allow us to not just continually be reactive every year, but plan with assets, with capital projects, and understand what our goals are over the 5 years, and again, work more towards a sustainable budget. So,
George, I'm sorry, I'm hogging it, but Mayor, it is, so this fee is short and they're gonna project out 5 years for us on a variety of fronts. I'm seeing Exhibit A. Is that
yes.
okay? You've seen this, Jeremy? Are you aware of all this too? Okay, good. All right.
Yes,
Yeah,
actually have a committee, and Jeremy's
They're
part of the committee.
Part of that committee too? Okay, good.
And there will be a member of the council on the committee.
Okay.
Jack Wilhite is going to serve as council representative as well. So Jeremy from Redevelopment Commission, myself, Lynn, and then Jack Wilhite from the council will sit in on these meetings as this is being established and provide that input that, again, then the council can use as guidance for their budgeting. Department heads can use as guidance for their budgeting, again, as we take a more data-driven approach to sustaining long-term our budget.
If I may, I don't want to speak for the council. I know, Jerry, you're here, but I do believe the council has been very interested in this information. And so I'm just very thankful for that, and I believe it's going to provide a lot of information for the public, which is who the council represents, and then obviously department heads right up to the mayor. So I do appreciate this approach and these efforts. Thanks, Mayor.
You know, and I feel very confident that our departments and department heads do a good job of budgeting, planning for their projects, running their departments. This just takes us to the next level where all that planning is compiled into one unified document. So it just gives us a little bit better pulse on the entire health of our financial status. And again, I think we've done very well with what our department heads have done for us, their frugality, their planning, their willingness to try and leverage their funds, look for grants as these projects come up. No problem with what's been done. This just kind of forces them to look out a little bit further than a year or two, so that, again, this can all be compiled in one document.
There's been also, I think, in a positive way, the government teacher in me, check and balance, this oversight function to not only benefit the services that we're providing, but just making sure it is in fact what we want today and tomorrow. So again, I just think it stays true to what the council membership, Jerry, again, I don't want to put any words in anybody's mouths, but what I've been feeling and sensing here over the past several years. So thank you.
So, yeah, again, I think if you look at that Exhibit A, it talks about what the comprehensive financial plan includes. And again, there's capital financing, debt management, recommend a level of minimum fund balance to be maintained. And then these can be transferred or the council can adopt these policies so that, again, it gives us guidelines as we budget. Lynn, do you have any comments? I know you've been a big part of
I'm
this.
just doing the best I can to follow.
No, I know they're already asking for information, so they're getting ready to go as soon as they get the agreement.
Right, and I appreciate all the work your department has done, because I know this will provide extra work initially, but I think it's kind of like a lesson plan. Once you get it done, then it's just a matter of providing that same information every year to keep this updated. We hold monthly department head meetings, and we've gone through this exercise of some capital planning and you know, what we foresee, and that will continue to be an even more important part of this. So again, I think this is just more of a formalization of things we've been doing, but in with some oversight of somebody that does a lot of this work for a lot of communities. So, questions?
Nope, sounds important, I'll move to approve.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, thank you. All right, any other items to be carried forward or brought to the attention? All right. I do want to take a minute and talk a little bit about this past week, the severe weather that we encountered and the preparations that the city sat down and not only looking at emergency services, but shelter, police, fire, our parks, the work the parks did. It was truly a citywide effort as we prepared for something we weren't sure was going to happen. Sat down with police and fire and talked about providing extra employees on those days for responding to citizen concerns. Scott and the chief did a great job making sure that happened. Chief Wilson did provide extra bodies to help transport individuals that may have had issues with heat problems and having to go to the shelter. Again, we had a shelter set up out at Pete Thorne. David Neff and Kosciuszko Community Services, Senior Services did a great job, along with Andy Wright, a Parks employee who actually spent a couple nights there to kind of oversee. Red Cross helped us with some cots. Again, Dave Neff helped us with some food. They prepared some meals. I think we had about 6 people take advantage of the situation. And we're certainly glad that we were there to offer that. We did learn a little bit. I think the Red Cross is interested in sitting down and looking at as maybe an emergency shelter in the future. Again, bringing together parks. We worked with Eric Lane over at Fellowship Missions as well, coordinated with them. Ed Rock, Emergency Management. I know he had several shelters in the county that he was just trying to make sure everybody was aware of. Talked with Marcia across the street. We just had great conversation. I talked to the sheriff and made him aware of the option of Pete Thorne Center. So Pete Thorne Center worked out very well. But again, I know Andy Wright went above and beyond, spent some time at the shelter overnight. I know his wife came down and helped one morning when they had to let someone in. Larry, you did an above and beyond job helping us with that. And again, I think it really, initially I was thinking the pavilion would have been the best place, but I think Larry wisely directed me more towards Pete Thorne and that facility with the gym. There's showers in there, there's restroom facilities, plenty of room. We even made arrangements with Animal Welfare League that if folks showed up with pets and they weren't in containers, that Animal Welfare League would house those pets out at the shelter. So kudos to all of my department heads for trying to plan for something we weren't sure was going to happen. I'm very glad that we had our shelter because, again, it was taken advantage of, but I'm really thankful for all the extra work folks did. I know we did take a couple days off here, but I don't regret that at all. I think it was the right thing to do, and fortunately we're back to business with our heat wave of 2 degrees above zero today. So any comments from any of the department heads on that? I know, and Jeff, how can I forget? Street Department, I stopped Tuesday, saw those guys over on Main Street doing double shifts. They were 15 minutes in a warm truck, and then they'd get out and relieve, and they did double routes on Tuesday at my request. Then they're doing double routes today along with plowing snow. Certainly it was the right thing to keep them out of the snow and cold on Wednesday and Thursday with those brutal temperatures. I know it was cold enough Tuesday when I stopped and talked to them, but I think they were relieved they weren't going to have to do that on Wednesday, Thursday. Jeff was a big part of that planning. Those guys just do a fantastic job, and then of course they get 2-3 inches of snow today that in addition to double routes today, they're plowing. So it's easy to take for granted what we always expect to happen when you put the trash can out or it snows, but it doesn't just happen, and these guys deserve all the kudos, and I'm very thankful for the way our city responded. Hopefully this won't happen again for a while. Never thought even anything about a brutal polar vortex being a community issue, but it obviously was, and I think we dodged a bullet. I don't think we had too many power outages. I don't know that we had any, to be honest with you. But that was our concern, if there were power outages, that we were able to have a place and a shelter big enough to handle a decent-sized group. I know there have been a few facilities that had some sprinkler heads, fire sprinkler heads broke and caused some wet folks and wet indoors, but by and large, I think we got through it pretty well. So again, I thank everyone for all my department heads, all my city employees, for everything they did. It was truly above and beyond and showed what we're about. So, all right, anybody else? All right, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, thank you.